Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. Well, I'm really excited today because yesterday I finally got my set of capital cities and victory cities in the mail. What a hassle, man! Holy crap! Like the UPS couldn't have screwed it up any more than they did. But man, when I got them, I was looking at them and they're just spectacular. So I can't wait to go through them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all of them here, and then I'm going to go through each one of them because if you decide that you want to get them, then like you can have your friends over and they're going to play and they're going to ask you, well, what's this? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and about all of them. So it'll be, I'm not sure how long the video will take. It'll take as long as it takes, you know me. So, but before I do though, I just want to show you here. So along the top here, we have the capital city set. So you see in the front row here, there's some black ones here. That's the set that I've had for quite a while now. I don't know, probably close to a year. This is the original set put out by eBard. eBard has all kinds of units on Shapeways.com, 3D printing store out of Long Island, New York. And he does ships and there's all kinds of battle units but I think the coolest thing he did, or at least in my mind anyway, was these capital city sets here. And this is the original set right here, the ones in front here, and they're a little bit smaller than you can see the ones in the back. So G.I. Joe, not long ago, my friend G.I. Joe from Atlanta there, he posted on AxisandAllies.org and saying that eBard was going to continue his set because G.I. Joe had contacted him and said he'd really like to get more, not just the capital cities, but also the victory cities as well. And so eBard, he said, sure, let's do it then, right? And so I was really excited when I seen that, and I know a lot of people were, because a lot of people have seen these pieces before. Well, maybe they have them, or maybe they've seen them in my video or something, and they're so cool to have. But anyway, so like you can see the difference. This is the black one here. This is the Westminster Palace, and then you can see the size difference with the new set that's come out, and Russia here, Like look at this you can see pretty easily is the difference with the Roman Colosseum. Now this one here was always a big disappointment to me in the whole capital city set. I really didn't like this one. I thought what a lousy piece to have for Sydney, Australia, right? But not so with the new one. The new one is much nicer, right? It's the same thing, but it's a way better piece that he's brought forth this time. The only thing that hasn't changed was the Taj Mahal, because the Taj Mahal was, I guess, a good size anyway, and so he didn't bother changing the size of that. But like here, you can see the Imperial Palace in Japan, how much bigger this is. Look at this, look at the Arc de Triomphe here from Paris, and also the Eiffel Tower. The size difference in those ones. I was really disappointed in the Arc de Triomphe before too. It was way too small, but the new one looks great. And because you got a bigger piece, then you also you can see more detail in it as well. And now we've got these other pieces down here. These are the victory cities that are in the game, and this is what I was using before for victory cities. This is a city from the Fortress America game, and they served me well. I put these on all the victory cities that weren't capital cities, and it helped because this whole game is all about the victory cities, right? Taking out victory cities or capital cities. That's how you won the game. And so it was nice to be able to mark them on the board in a bright color like this, so that you could see, that was your objective. That's what you were going for, was those cities. It didn't matter how many sea zones you took, you needed to take enough of these cities, right? Or capital cities if you were the Allied player. So anyway, I'm going to be able to replace these ones now with all these other ones here. So like here you can see the pyramids of Giza. And down here, this is the Golden Gate Bridge. And I'll go through all of these and give you a little bit of the history of each one of them. in this video. I just wanted to show you the whole set together, just to see what I've got here. Now they didn't come this color, obviously. They came, I think it's almost a clear color. It was the frosted ultra detailed pieces that I got, and so I put a coat of white, what is it, undercoating, and then the Italian red I put on top, and then a clear coat on top of that. So anyway, I'm going to get to these and I'm going to show them all to you. It's such a cool set though. Like so these structures here, some of the greatest structures that man has ever created, you know, like with the Roman Colosseum from the ancient world and the pyramids from the ancient world, some of the most recognizable structures ever created. And to have them in such great detail like this, and I'll show you a little bit close up of these things as well. To have them in this much detail and to put them on your Axis and Allies board, wow, that's so cool. Anyway, so I'm going to pause this and I'm going to rearrange. Okay, so first up is Westminster Palace here. You probably recognize this as Britain's Parliament buildings. Big Ben, the clock tower is on there. It's where the House of Lords and the House of Commons meets. It was built originally in the 11th century, and I think one of the monarchs built it, and he was living there. At the time, it was west of London, on the River Thames. But you just look at the detail on this thing, how beautiful this is. And the other one was nice too, but look at the size difference. And when you get this size difference like that, you're going to be able to get more detail in it. But yeah, just the detail on this is just stunning, right? It's just absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, it burned down for the most part in 1834, and they had to rebuild it. And in World War II, it was bombed on 14 separate occasions. The worst one took place in May of 1941, when the palace took at least 12 hits and 3 people were killed. An incendiary bomb hit the chamber of the House of Commons and set it on fire. Another set the roof of Westminster Hall on fire. The firefighters couldn't save both of them, and so they had to make a decision, and they decided to rescue the hall. So the House of Commons, or the Commons chamber, was destroyed, and as was the members' lobby. But anyway, like it's with such a big target, and with the Germans bombing like they did, of course it was going to be nailed a number of times, but it did survive the Second World War, and it's one of the most iconic probably the most iconic building in London, and I guess that's probably why Ibard chose to use this one. When I think of England, and I certainly think, you know, the first picture that comes in my mind is this one here, you know, when it comes to structures and things like that. Anyway, so that's the Palace of Westminster. Okay, so this is St. Basils Cathedral in Moscow. And what it really is see, there's one thing in the middle there. That's a church, or it was supposed to be a church, St. Basils Cathedral. And then all those smaller ones around it were other churches that were built around it. And even you look at this and it's all red. I've painted it red, but they're actually just a multitude of colors. It's really quite colorful, the way it's actually painted in the real world. But the architecture, it was made to look like a flame rising into the sky, and of course you can see that, right? So it was built. Let me see here. I've got my thing here. It was built from 1555 to 1561 on orders from Ivan the Terrible. Everybody loves Ivan the Terrible. The original building was known as Trinity Church, and then later Trinity Cathedral. And like I said, after that they built 8 small churches around it, and then I think one more. But anyway, it doesn't look like it was damaged during the Second World War there. unlike the last one we looked at. Um, but I believe in 1928 or 1929, when the Soviet Union came to power, like after the Russian Revolution, they weren't religious, right? The communists, and so they confiscated the church, St. Basils Cathedral, and all the churches surrounding it, and they turned it into a museum. So if you go there now, you will see that it's a museum. It's no longer a church, and you can see the other one that I had there, the smaller one, and it was cool. I thought it was cool anyway until I got the new one. The new one's way cooler. But just look at all the detail on that. It'd be quite a place to visit, wouldn't it? Okay, let's see who's next. Okay, so this is the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. And what the Imperial Palace is, it's the residence of the royal family, the Japanese royal family. Now, there's not a lot of detail on this. Really, what the Imperial Palace is, though, it's a much larger place. Like a lot of gardens and things like that. This is just one of the buildings in the palace, because you couldn't have put the whole palace in there. It's quite the sprawling little place, 1.32 square miles. So you couldn't have put the whole thing. They just put one of the buildings in there. But like I said, there's not a lot of detail to this one, but there wasn't going to be. Like they just did, that's not how the Japanese did things. But it's cool though, like that's going to sit on Japan, and it'll be a lot better than this other one that I had here. This one was okay, but it's just too small, right? So I'm excited to have this one here. So what's next? So this is the Taj Mahal. I always like this piece. It's exactly the same as the old piece, right? But anyway, this is such a nice piece. I was just reading about it here just now. You know what this is? It's a tomb. It says here that like it was commissioned in 1632 by the Emperor Shah Jahan, to house the tomb of his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal. So I wonder what the other wives got. His favorite wife got the Taj Mahal. Anyway, that's where she's buried. I had a coworker. He doesn't work there anymore. He's moved to Vancouver now, Jasper, and I asked him about the Taj Mahal one time, and he just rolled his eyes. He goes, "That's nothing more than a tourist thing." He said, "It's." He said he just gets sick and tired of hearing about the Taj Mahal in India. Anyway, it's on a 17 hectare grounds, and it's just one big ass tomb for the emperor's favorite wife. Okay, so this is the Reichstag building from Berlin, and it actually wasn't. I don't think that it was really there in World War II. I could be wrong about that. I've been reading up about it. It's really nice detail on this one. Let me try to get a little bit closer. So what happened in 1933, about a month after Hitler came to power in Germany, there was an arson that burned the Reichstag down. And so the Nazis, they blamed the communists, and they used that as an excuse. It was really quite an event that helped the Nazis take a stranglehold on Germany. This is the old one here. So it was probably a false flag operation. Like they grabbed a communist and said, "This guy did it," and that the communists were trying to take down Germany and everything. And it was just one of the ways that the Nazis got the German people on their side. Was this operation where the Reichstag accidentally burned down on purpose, right, by the communists. Anyway, that's a pretty nice piece. So that's what's going to be in Berlin. And this is the Sydney Harbour Bridge here. First, I'm going to show you this one. I was really disappointed when I got this piece before. It kind of looks like an old phone that I had back in the day. It just didn't live up to the specifications of all the other pieces that I've showed you so far. from the capital city set. But this one here, I really like this one. So it was finished in 1932, and it crosses the Sydney Harbour. It carries rail, vehicular traffic, bicycle, and pedestrians across this. So everybody moves across this. The trains, the cars, the people, the bicycles. That's pretty impressive. But yeah, this is a much nicer sculpt than the other one. You know, this one you can actually see it on your board and everything, and that's going to be a nice piece. Although I'll say it again, Sydney is not and never has been the capital of Australia. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? Okay, so this is the Roman Colosseum, or as it's known, just simply the Colosseum. This is one of the most recognizable buildings in the entire world. That's the old one there. Okay, let's get rid of that. So this is the new one, and you can see the great detail that's put into this. It was, the construction started on this in 72 AD, and it was finished in about 80 AD. It was started by the Emperor Vespasian and finished by his successor Titus. But yeah, this is quite the beautiful piece. I like this one. I like the old one too. I thought that was a pretty cool piece. It's been modified over the years. By years, I mean centuries. Probably not for a long time. Although they do continue to restore it. I've seen programs on it and stuff like that. I don't need to tell you too much about this because everybody knows about the Roman Colosseum. They had gladiators fighting in there and everything. It was estimated that it could hold between 50 and 80,000 people, an average of attendance of 65,000. Man, that's a lot of bloodthirsty Romans in there calling for people's death, you know. That's, yeah, Maximus. I know, it was just a movie. Anyway, that's one of my favorite pieces there, the Roman Colosseum. Good job on that one, Ebard. So this is the United States Capitol building. This was the original one that I had from Ebard's original set. And this was another one that was not as disappointing as the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but it's a nice piece and everything, but it's just way too small, you know. So this is the one that he's got now, and it's just a beautiful piece. So this was built in 1800. And it houses the legislative branch of the American federal government. In one side, I'm not sure which side, but in one side is Congress, and then the other side is the Senate. It's been updated over the years, like a dome was added at some point in time. But yeah, that's where the American legislative branch sits. And when you see the State of the Union address on TV there, the president gives every year, he gives it inside this building here. I think it's in the Senate chamber that he gives it. But anyway, I think that he made a good choice in using this one instead of the White House, because this is a more iconic looking building. So it's a good representation of Washington, D.C. Okay, so I don't really have to tell you what this piece is here. This is the old one. This is maybe the most recognizable structure in the world. There's the old piece, and I was happy with that one. I'm going to be even happier with the new one, though. This is a new piece by Ebard of the Eiffel Tower. So this was made, it's made out of wrought iron, and it was named after the engineer Gustav Eiffel. People didn't really like it to begin with. It was built in 1887 to 1889 for the World's Fair that year. People didn't like the design of it, but it's stood the test of time, and it's like I said, it's one of the most recognizable structures in the entire world now. When you think of Paris, is what you think of. Ebard in his original set and in this set of capital cities, he gives you this, and he gives you the Arc de Triomphe. But I use this one because you don't need two of them, right? I don't know why there's two of them. Maybe he just likes the Arc de Triomphe. But to me, when I think of Paris, I think of the Eiffel Tower. That's that's exactly what I think of. I'm not sure when you go to Paris how high you can get up there. I know you can go inside and look around. It's what is it here? Let me look. It's about the size of the height of an 81-story building, so it's 1,063 feet tall. I was in the CN Tower just a little while ago when I went to the Grasshopper Invitational, and I tell you that's pretty high up there. So this I think is pretty close to that. It's the tallest structure in Paris. Anyway, that I really like that. That's a really cool one. It looks great sitting on your board. And this is the other landmark that he has from Paris, the Arc de Triomphe de l'Étoile, which in English would mean the triumphal arch of the star. This is a really beautiful piece that he's made here. It's much nicer than the little one. The little one was nice too, but it kind of reminds me of that little thing from a movie I saw. What was it? Can't even remember. But anyway, this is a really nice piece. It's a shame that I probably won't use it. I'll be busy using the other one for Paris, but it is a nice piece. It was built. Let me see. There was a reason why they built it. It honored those who fought and died for France in the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars, with the names of all French victories and generals inscribed on the inner and outer surfaces. Beneath it lies the tomb of the unknown soldier from World War One. So it's quite the attraction, and also one of the most recognizable structures in the world in Paris. So that's probably why he decided to put both, because this one was such a great structure. So I mean, if the board was bigger, I'd put them both on, but it's just not big enough, especially in Europe. They'd be putting a bunch of them on like that. So anyway, that's a beautiful piece as well, the Arc de Triomphe. Okay, so I'll move on to the other victory cities now. We've done all the capital cities. This one needs no introduction, of course. This is one of the great pyramids of Giza. It symbolizes Cairo. It's not that far from Cairo. It's on the outskirts, actually, in the Libyan desert. Not in Libya, it's just called the Libyan desert. About 9 kilometers west of the Nile River at the old town of Giza. There's actually, I thought there was 3, but there's actually 6 pyramids there. 3 of them are huge, and then there's 3 smaller ones. And of course there's the Sphinx as well that guards this particular pyramid. So there's not much to see here. It's just a pyramid, but that's going to look good on the board too. He was a little unhappy once he put these out that this one was a little bit big, and you don't get a lot of room in Egypt to put stuff, and there seems to always be, in an Axis and Allies game, a ton of stuff on Egypt. So this is going to take up a lot of space. I think I might just slide it over to the desert there, and to have it right beside there, and that should be good enough. But I tell you, like, I've already bought 2 sets, right? I bought the original set and then this set. So there's 3 pieces that came out a little bit too large. I don't think I'm going to be ordering those, at least not right away anyway. I actually have to buy my grandkids Christmas presents too. It's time to stop buying stuff for Grandpa. Anyway, there's the Pyramid of Giza. Okay, so this sucker here, everybody knows what this is. This is the most photographed bridge in the entire world. One of the most recognizable structures of any kind in the entire world. Of course, I'm talking about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. It spans the San Francisco Bay. So yeah, everybody knows what this is. But yeah, he did a good job on this one. I really like this. That's going to look nice over in Western United States. There's not much to really say about this because everybody knows all about it. It opened in 1937. Until 1964, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. It's about 4,200 feet long, So yeah, it's a beautiful piece. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so this is the Aloha Tower in Honolulu. It's one of the most recognizable, probably the most recognizable structure on the island of Hawaii. What it is, it's a lighthouse, and it was built in 1926. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, they sent soldiers over there to guard it. They didn't want the Japanese to occupy it. They didn't know they weren't going to land, of course, right? But so after that, though, they after the attack, they painted it in camouflage so that you couldn't see it at night. They didn't want them bombing it or anything, right? So anyway, that's a pretty nice piece. I think he said he'd like to make this one bigger, but I don't mind the size of it myself because it's out in the middle of the Pacific, right? And you don't need something big sitting out in the middle of the Pacific. Of course, it's a small space that you have there for Hawaii, so I think that'll do just nicely, the size of this. It's nice detail on it and everything. Anyway, that's the Aloha Tower in Honolulu. And this is the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. This is where the Canadian government likes to argue, where Parliament sits. The House of Commons is inside of here, inside the center block, as well as the Senate chamber is in there. The Parliament Library. It sits on Parliament Hill. This is called the Peace Tower right here. It sits on Parliament Hill overlooking the Rideau Canal, I believe. This must be the library back here. I've never been to the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. I'd like to go sometime though. Of course, I'm from Canada, so I know lots about this building, but mostly what I know is they like to argue there. That's where our government meets. The Prime Minister's office is in the Parliament buildings. A lot of things are housed in there. Unlike the American one where you have the White House is one place and the Capitol building is another place. Everything is pretty much contained in this one building in Canada, as far as the government goes. And the Prime Minister lives on Sussex Drive, but that's not where he meets people. Like he has his office in this building here. He has a private residence where he lives. I remember that after our current Prime Minister his name is Justin Trudeau. I remember after his father died, people were calling in and they were telling stories about meeting him and stuff. And the one guy, Alan Rock, he was a minister in his government. He was talking about how he met John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and they wanted to meet Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. They said, well, let's just go. They go and they knock on his door, and he opens the door and everything. Like, it's not like the White House at all, where there's gates around it and everything. I think there's a little more security now, but it was just a house, where the Prime Minister lived, and people don't get too excited about that kind of thing in Canada. A few years ago, actually probably 2 decades ago now, Jean Chrétien was the Prime Minister, and somebody broke into the house there, and it was his wife that fought the guy, Chrétien's wife. But anyway, they don't live in where the Canadian Parliament sits like they do down in the States there. This is just where the government is. So that's the Canadian Parliament buildings. Okay, so this piece here is another one of the large pieces, probably a little bit large for the territory that it goes in. This is to symbolize Leningrad. This is called the Winter Palace. The reason it's so big, though, I think the reason he made it so big is because it's actually quite enormous in real life. And what the Winter Palace was, it was the winter home for Peter the Great. And from 1732 to 1917, it was the official residence of the Russian monarchs. So of the royal family of Russia, that's where they lived. In St. Petersburg was in the Winter Palace. But then after that, they moved to a more secure location. But they still use this as a winter residence, where they would go. This is like their holiday home. And then after the revolution in, what was it, 1917 or whatever, then it was briefly where the provisional government set up their parliament Anyway, it's quite a nice piece, lots of detail to it. So that's the Winter Palace that symbolizes Leningrad, which is, of course, St. Petersburg now. And the other Russian building that we have here, this is for Stalingrad. This is the Volgograd tractor factor or tractor plant. This was located in Stalingrad, and there was lots of fighting that went on around this building in the Battle of Stalingrad. Of course, that was an enormous battle, and a pivotal one, of course, too, in the Second World War. That's really where the tide had changed on the Germans. They were making pretty good headway till they got to Stalingrad. But yeah, there was a lot of fighting that went around this factory. They were building T-34s in there. I think they were building other equipment as well. This would have been a nice piece for me on my to use for Tankograd. That would have been a cool piece for Tankograd. But I just use a regular factory for that. That's one of my house rules. But anyway, this is for Stalingrad, the tractor plant. Okay, so this piece here is St. Alexander's Church in Warsaw, Poland. And this is a beautiful piece as well. Really, really nice work on this one. There's not a whole lot of information that I have on this piece. I know it was built by the grateful citizens of Warsaw to commemorate the Tsar Alexander I of Russia, who conferred the Constitution to the Kingdom of Poland, it says. It was constructed in 1818 to 1825. Now, the church was destroyed in World War II in the course of the Warsaw Uprising. Aerial bombardment by the Luftwaffe in the first days September 1944. The church was hit by 9 bombs, resulting in the collapse of the dome and much of the rest of it. So in the years after the war, it stood as a ruin while debates were conducted over whether to rebuild it to its pre-war appearance or to its original appearance before reconstruction. In the end, the church was rebuilt between 1949 and 1952 in a form similar to its original design. So I don't know if this is the original design or if it's the design that was in place during World War II. I don't see a picture of it here. Actually, there's a picture of it. Anyway, who cares, right? This one is Warsaw. This piece here is the Manila Central Post Office. It's really quite interesting architecture. It's a really nice piece. I don't know too much about the city of Manila, so I couldn't tell you if this is the most recognizable structure in Manila or not. But anyway, it was built, let me see, it was built in 1926, but it was severely damaged during the Second World War. My guess is the Japanese, but who knows, maybe it was the Americans when they were trying to retake the island. Probably the Japanese though. Anyway, regardless, it was rebuilt to pretty much to look like the old building in 1946 after the war was over. So this is the piece that will sit on the Philippines, the Manila Central Post Office. Okay, for whatever reason, we have 2 pieces for Hong Kong. This is the Wong Tai Sin Temple. This one right here. It's a religious place. Mostly it's a tourist attraction now though. It's a pretty nice building, pretty nice little structure there. It's dedicated to Wong Tai Sin, or the great immortal Wong. It's a Taoist temple, famed for the many prayers answered. What you request is what you get. Anyway, that's in Hong Kong. And this one here is the what is it called? The Queen's Building, I think. Here, let me just check on that. It's also, it goes by a different name for the most part, though. He's listed as the Queen's Building, but from what I can tell, it's also the Panda Hotel, which is one of the more famous buildings in all of Hong Kong. Except for there's a big panda bear painted on the side of it somewhere, the picture that I've seen of it. So anyway, I think probably I would use this one because you have two of them. I think I'll use this one here. This one looks cooler. So that leaves us with I lied, there's two left. So this one here is for Shanghai, and this is called Yew Garden. As you can see there, there's little shrubs and everything in there. So it's supposed to be some fancy garden in Shanghai. Anyway, it's a really cool piece that he's done here. There's supposed to be some 5-ton jade rock. I don't see it on here, but that's supposed to be the centerpiece of Yew Garden, is this 5-ton jade rock. Anyway, that piece will look good on Shanghai. And this is the last one. It's a piece from India. It's a really nice piece. It's a shame too, I won't be using it because I'll be using the Taj Mahal. But this is also a very nice piece. It's the Dhandakeshwar Temple. I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry, but what it is, it's a Hindu temple. It was constructed, let me see, 1855 by Rani Rashmani, a philanthropist and a devotee of Kali. So anyway, that's I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I don't really care. I'm not going to use it, but it is a beautiful piece, though, that's for sure. I'm not sure why there's like 2 pieces for Hong Kong and 2 for India. I don't think you need that many, but they are nice pieces, though, and they do come with the sets. So anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to set up the board with all these pieces on it so that you can see what it looks like set up. And we're going to take a look at the board with them all set up. So you see North America over there with the Capitol building and the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. People were saying about how the Parliament buildings were too large. And you know, they are pretty large. But the thing is that there's not a lot of units that get placed over there. So there's lots of room on Ottawa, or lots of room there in Canada to leave that. And you know, it's kind of nice that you can actually see it over there, because most people don't sit at that end of the board, do they? Like they sit on one side of the map or the other. So you'll be able to see that from a long ways away. One thing I did do in anticipation of getting these, you see my neutral armies here. What I've done, I used to have red neutral armies, but I painted them white because I wanted the cities to stick out. And you can see, I'll just pan across there real quick. So you can see where the red is. The only red now is the cities. Now I had made my neutral armies first before I even heard of this set of capital cities. So that's why I made my neutral armies red. But now that I have these cities, I want them to stand out. I want to be able to see where I need to go. Or not just me, but I mean anybody that's playing the game can see where they need to go. So that's why I've painted the neutral armies white. I still have the red ones. I've got lots of, like you probably, I've got lots of extra units, and so I painted them white. I think they look pretty cool. But anyway, the pyramid is a bit big. Like I said, I'm probably not going to order another one though, because I just don't have the money right now. I got Christmas coming up. So it does take up a lot of space, but I think though when I start playing the game, I'll just put it over here. You know, what's the big deal? Nobody ever goes in there, and they're not allowed to go in there anyway, right? So that'll be fine like that. And you see the Roman Colosseum in there. That looks pretty cool. The Eiffel Tower really stands out in Europe because of the size of it now. You see the Reichstag and the cathedral there in Warsaw. The Winter Palace is quite large up there. You know, it's not as much of a problem with me as it was with the other guys that had ordered this set. Three of us had ordered this set to begin with because he wanted to see, Ebar wanted to see how it would turn out. You know, he wanted to make sure that the pieces were done right and everything, and that the size was good. But I play with a board, unlike the other guys probably, I play with a board that's 13% larger than the regular board. And so all of my territories are 13% larger as well. So there's lots of room in there for me. Although that is one big one. So there's the Taj Mahal, and you see the post office down there in Manila. Garden up there in Shanghai. I'm gonna have to start remembering the names of these places. There's the Imperial Palace up in Japan there. Aloha Temple. Yeah, I don't mind that Aloha Temple is that size. Like I said, you don't need something really big out in the middle of the ocean there. There's Golden Gate Bridge there. That looks pretty neat over there. And this is a huge improvement. The Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's a huge improvement. Here, let me show you what it was like before. Like you couldn't even see this thing in here before. It looked like I dropped something there or something, right? I mean that's not a marker. This is a marker. That looks way better. And you can tell now that's a capital, right? Before that other little thing there, you couldn't tell what it was, you know, right? So now that is obviously a bridge, and it looks great. So anyway, that's Ebar's Capitals and Victory City set. He did an awesome job on it. It costs about $100 American plus delivery. So it is pretty expensive, but you know, like if people are asking you what to get you for Christmas, tell them you want something like this. You know, unless there's something else you need more, like flight stands or something, right? But this is a great addition to your board. Is these markers? Like I showed you the close-ups of them and everything. They're just absolutely gorgeous, really, really detailed. And you can see, like I'm just panning around to where the red is. You can see the cities that you need to take. You know, they're all right there. You don't have to go looking around. And where's Warsaw again? Warsaw's that red thing right over there, right? Easy to find Cairo, that's for sure. Ginormous pyramid over there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I know I enjoyed it. I was pretty excited when I got it. And I painted them. I couldn't wait. I ripped them out of the package there yesterday and started painting right away so I could make a video today. This weekend, we got Remembrance Day coming up on Saturday. Gonna go play a big game at my buddy's house there. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully you're gonna be doing some more gaming this weekend too. Anyway, that's me. Take care everyone. General Hand Grenade out.